Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nelly Mpokosa. If you are new here, you are very welcome, and if literature is your cup of tea, you are more than welcome. Let me know in the comments what novel you'd like me to review next and summarize next. These past few novels, I summarized them. I chose those particular novels because I realized that's what's in the current syllabus. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the reason I chose them. And Uneasy Yoke keeps coming back in the Zambian syllabus, literature syllabus. So I'm hoping the few points I give you will help you in your exam if you are here for that. But if you are here to just know more about it, you are very welcome also. Just let me know what novel you'd like me to review next. So let's continue from where we left off. Mwinji and Mateo became gradual friends. From that first meeting at the funeral, Mwinji started going to church more often. Remember, I had said she was trying to find ways of breaking her marriage with Malinga. So church became one of those plans. So she went to church almost every other Sunday. And each time she would go, she would meet Matthew and they would chat, and they became friends. They became really fond of each other, but they only met on Sundays. So during this whole situation, Matthew had known that Mwinji was already engaged to be married. And he heard of Malinga, he heard a few things about him. He heard that he was very hot-tempered and most villagers were afraid of him. But each time he would have a conversation with Mwinji, he never brought it up. Like, he never mentioned the fact that she was engaged. So one particular Sunday, they were walking back home from church, and Mwinji then opened up to Matthew and told him, like, no, you know what, I'm engaged to be married, but I don't want to get married to this man. I'm trying to find a way of breaking off my marriage. Then she explained the reason as why she wanted to break off the marriage. Anyway, so then Matthew encouraged us. He told her, if you really want to break off the marriage, you need to pray about it, and you have to become Christian, because a Christian is not allowed to be in a polygamous marriage. So after that conversation, Matthew even prayed with Mwinji. So that Sunday, their interaction was quite lengthy. Not extremely lengthy, but it was lengthy to a point of someone noticing that they were together, and this person went and reported to Malinga. We are not told who this person was. So when Mwinji got home, she received news immediately that Malinga was looking for her. And the previous day, should be the previous day or the previous days, her mother sat her down and explained to her, saying, look, you need to be serious with your marriage, because at this point Malinga's family had already paid her bride price, so she was technically his bride already. They just hadn't done the wedding. They just hadn't done the wedding. So Chituntululu, Mwinji's mother, explained to her, saying, this person is your husband now, so you need to start respecting him, you need to start loving him, because he's practically your husband. So when she heard that he was looking for her, she quickly rushed there. And as usual, Malinga was upset. Just a backstory. Sorry, I didn't skip. I didn't think it was important to this point. But anyway, a backstory. So each time Malinga and Mwinji would meet, Mwinji would always be mean towards him. She would be so interested in their meeting, and this used to irritate and piss him off. Like, each time he'd each time he'd want them to talk about the wedding, she would brush it off and tell him, let's not rush things. And then this was making him angry, to a point where he would go back home and go and beat his first wife Kumbu, who knew nothing about it. And the violence became so bad that Kumbu started threatening to go back home. So before this meeting with Mwinji, Malinga's dad sat him down and talked to him, like, you have to start treating your first wife better. She's pregnant, because Kumbu was pregnant already. That's the reason that he married her. She's pregnant, so you have to take care of her properly, because she's told me that she wants to leave. But then he would hit her still. So this day, when Malinga summoned Mwinji, he asked her where she was. Then she told him, no, I went to church. Then he scolded her about going to church. He told her, but I don't want you going to church. Who are you with? Then before she could answer, he slapped her twice. Now remember, in olden times, an engaged couple was not allowed to just be the two of them. So each time Mwinji would go to see Malinga, she would carry her young brother Mtende. So immediately Malinga slapped Mwinji. Mtende rushed back to their village to go and tell the people that this side things are happening. So Mwinji and Malinga met at Malinga's Katawampango's place, Malinga's Shubukombe's place. That's where they met. And Dominic, the Shubukombe, was in the house when all this was happening. So when Malinga slapped Mwinji, she started crying and this started drawing attention, but then Dominic was just in the house, So when Mtende went back to their village to go and report, Mwinji's young brother, Msenga, came running. And immediately Msenga arrived, Malinga then beat Msenga up also. So there was so much noise, there was so much commotion, to a point where Mwinji's uncle heard the noise, and people came, they got Msenga and took him back home. But then Msenga's condition was bad, like he reached a near-death experience. And because Malinga then realized what had gone on, he ran away. Msenga was a student. And he was Matthew's friend. So Matthew too heard about the news, and his friends went, they visited him, and from that whole experience, Mwinji's uncle Zewanji took that whole fight very lightly. First of all, he refused Chituntululu and Tamika to take their son to the hospital. He kept on making the situation look so minimal, like he didn't carry that whole situation with the seriousness it needed. He only realized it was serious when the Reverend Chilsom came and got Msenga and took him to the hospital, and then Zevwanji and Kwiwe, who is Malinga's dad, got arrested. The reason Kwiwe got arrested instead of Malinga was because Malinga had run away. And when the police came, they had to arrest somebody. In this case, they arrested Kwiwe. So during all this commotion and confusion, Tamika then decided to take the Inkundi and the bride price back. This was an opportunity for them to break off the marriage. So it looked like Mwinji's prayers had gotten answered, because remember, Matthew and Mwinji had prayed. So these events leading up to the bride price being taken back and the engagement being broken proved that God answers prayers, according to Mwinji in Matthew. So that's how that engagement was broken. Malinga and Mwinji's engagement was broken. So then, a few months later, after that engagement was broken, Matthew and Mwinji's friendship strengthened. They even got engaged. Sorry, I'm just trying to give you a whole overview so that you can go and read on your own. If you want to use this video for educational purposes, please make sure you read the novel so that you can fill in the blanks. I'm trying to avoid making these videos very long, so I'm going to be rushing through the novels. I'm going to be giving you a proper brief overview. I hope it helps, but if you still want me to summarize the way I have been summarizing, that's still okay. Just let me know. So anyway, Mwinji and Matthew got engaged. Mwinji and Matthew got engaged. Now, after this engagement, that's where the problems started. So Matthew was a pupil. He was in his 12th grade when he met Mwinji, and his teacher, Mr. Peter Sinkala. Is it Sinkala? Should be Peter Sinkala. If not, I'm going to correctly put his name there, but his first name was Peter. Mr. Peter was a geography teacher, but then this one day in class, he started talking about tax, like the poor tax that had been forcefully put on the people of Msesengoma and Kasichila. This is where This is the village where Matthew was coming from. So Peter explained why they had to pay, like why each villager had to pay tax, and Matthew got agitated by this whole situation. So the rules were tax had to be paid for everything that was owned, and the biggest tax payment was the one for men who are in polygamous marriages. So if a man has more than 2 wives, he had to pay for the second wife tax. If he had 3 wives, he had to pay for the 2 extra wives. He had to pay tax for the 2 extra wives. And each time the deputy commissioner would come, like in the village, the villagers would prepare. You know how villagers would prepare the whole village to receive the deputy commissioner. Now in this case, the deputy commissioner was a white man. His name was Mr. Minkonin. I'm going to set his name just for the sake of spellings. You know, I'm not very good with pronunciations, but anyway, the deputy commissioner was Mr. Minkonin, and he was a European white man. And each time he would visit a village, the villagers would even go as far as painting the trees, you know, just to make him welcome. So this time he went to visit Kasichila, which is Matthew's village. And he and his Kapassos came with a rule saying each man that has failed to pay tax for his second wife and third wife would have his house burnt down. Now in this case, a man called Alanjivwa, I'm going to insert his name, don't worry. This man had 3 wives, and he had paid for his first and second wife. It's only the third wife that he hadn't yet paid for. So because he hadn't paid for his third wife, the deputy commissioner ordered his Kapassos to go and burn his house. They even lit part of it. Now Matthew noticed that no one in the village was doing anything to prevent that house from burning, that they were all just standing in awe. So Matthew took it upon himself to charge towards the Kapasso. He reached and he pushed the Kapasso fell down, you know. So in that moment, everyone was shocked, because Matthew was one of the young gentlemen who were around, and it was so out of character for him to behave like that. So that caused a lot of commotion. Then in the end, the deputy commissioner ordered his Kapassos to whip Matthew and whip Matthew's grandfather, Sosopeka. Now Sosopeka was one of the oldest people in that village, and he was already, you know how when you grow old it's difficult for you to do certain things, and because he was beaten badly by those Kapassos, he could no longer provide for his family. He was the sole breadwinner. So that whole experience broke Matthew. As I had mentioned, he no longer wanted to go to church, especially, and he was in his final year at high school, so he was due to write exams. But then he no longer wanted to. He stopped believing in God and Christianity. That whole experience broke him. But then Sosopeka could no longer provide for Solange and Mateo as he used to, because his leg and his body didn't fully heal, and he was their sole provider. So Matthew kept going to school, but each time he would go to school, he would like hear things. He said his cousins would tease him that why is he going to school. In fact, this one time he overheard his cousins talk about how irresponsible Matthew was for continuing to go to school, and yet his grandfather was sick, and instead of manning up, Matthew just decided to go to school. So that seed got planted in his head. And what sealed this whole thing was by the time he came back home, and he found there was no food at home completely. And because Matthew was Christian before, his grandfather and his grandmother were not welcome to the family Impala. It was called Impala. If they're to the family Impala, an area where all families cook and they bring food together, and all the men eat together and all the women eat together. Now, because Matthew was Christian, they were not welcome to that family Impala. I'm going to set the spelling of that word, don't worry. Yeah, so this broke him. He came back home and there was literally no food, and the grandparents were old. So he decided to stop going to school and he learned how to hunt. So he went, the first time he went with his cousins, and he failed to hunt anything. But the fact that he just followed them, they shared all that they had hunted equally. He was actually given a very big piece of meat. And that's how his independence started. He became the breadwinner for his family. He learned how to hunt. His grandfather even talked to his uncle to give him some charms to help him catch animals in his traps. He was not very good at it, but it was a source of income for a while. Now remember, he had engaged Mwinji at this point, and they were charged, is it 5 cows? Yeah, should be 5 cows, yeah. They were charged 5 cows, and Matthew had no other way of coming up with his money. Like, it was the work that he was doing, the hunting and the farming that he was doing was not going to be enough to pay for Mwinji's bride price. So luckily, there was a group of young men who would go to work in mines for a few months, and then they would come back with a lot of money. But then this journey was a risky journey. Most people that went never came back. Those that came back usually came back injured. So Matthew was lucky. He went, I'm going to insert the name of the area they went to, but he went and he worked really hard. He worked so hard for 3 months. He told, the period of working was 3 months. Like, each contract was 3 months. So he worked for the first 3 months, and at the end of the contract, someone told him there's another mine that wants other workers. So then Mwinji and Matthew's family, Solange and Mwinji's family, were told he was going to be back within 3 months. But because he wanted to make more money, he chose to stay another extra 3 months. So he can make enough money to come and pay for the bride price and to sponsor the whole wedding arrangement. So then, what happened was, at the end of the first 3 months contract, he had given some of his colleagues things to go and take to his family and Mwinji's family, and he even sent word saying, I'm going to stay a bit longer. But then these people that he had sent chose not to deliver the message. They were just quiet. They chose not to deliver the message, and all the chitenges and all the suits that he had bought that Matthew had bought for his grandmother and Mwinji's parents, they kept those things to themselves. So at the end of that 3 months, everyone just thought that Matthew had died and was not going to come back. Yeah, at the end of the 3 months, they all just thought, he's not going to come back. Mwinji tried waiting, but she couldn't wait. This side, Malinga was back pestering her. He was pestering her. He wanted to marry her. It got to a point where he threatened her spiritually. He told her, you're going to be mine, whether you like it or not. Then what he started doing, the Kriwels were known for witchcraft, in fact. So what Malinga did, though the book does not evidently say that he's the one that did it, Mwinji started having weird dreams. The first time, she dreamt that her dog had gotten bitten by a snake and died in her dream. When she woke up in the morning, like that thing where you're dreaming, then she got startled. Then she opened her eyes and she saw a very tall man who turned into a snake and went out of the room. So she thought that was a dream. So when she woke up, they found that their dog had died. No, in fact, the first thing that happened, Mwinji's mother just had another baby. Chitundurulu had another baby. So Mwinji was holding that baby in her arms. She was holding the baby in her arms. Then from nowhere, the baby fell down, and that's how that baby died. The next thing is, Mwinji dreamt that their dog had died, and the snake had bitten it. This tall man appeared in her room, then he turned into a snake, then the snake went and bit the dog. When she woke up in the morning, the dog had died. Now, this third dream, she dreamt her brother was playing in the yard. Then that same big snake came and appeared and it bit the brother, and the brother had died. So when she woke up that morning, it was not even, this dream didn't even happen at night. Like she was taking a nap during the day, then she dreamt that. So when she woke up, she found her brother was okay. This is her young brother Mtende. That's how she quickly rushed and accepted Malinga, because Malinga kept on saying, I'm going to marry you, I'm going to marry you, I'm going to marry you, I want to marry you, I'm going to marry you. On top of that, before this whole I'm going to marry you situation, the Kwiwes started demanding that they should be compensated. In fact, before Matthew even went for work to them, like before Matthew went to the mines, the Kwiwes started demanding that they should be compensated 2 extra goats for the inconvenience and all that. So then those 2 extra goats were put also on Matthew's load. So that's why he had to work extra hard. But that's besides the point. So Malinga used to appear in form of a snake. Remember, I've already like talked about this part. So when she saw the snake was going to bite her brother, she woke up and she quickly went and accepted Malinga's proposal. So Malinga and his family redid the whole engagement thing. Inkunji was brought back to the house. They paid the bride price. Then even the wedding preparations were put on a rapid, like they were rushed. The wedding preparations were rushed. This whole time when these wedding preparations are happening this side, Matthew is working so hard at the mines to go back to his bride. On top of the money that he was getting from the mines, he learned a skill. He learned how to fix people's shoes to make extra money. So he managed to raise enough money to go back home. Now that's where the drama began.